If I could point back and say, what are the most stabilizing things that have allowed me to have any longevity by God's grace? And I'm like, one of them is I had really deep friendships. For sure, there's times I want to tap out.
Yep.
And sure, there's times that I thought, like, I don't know if I can keep going, but I had somebody that I could talk to about those things and share that with me. And I'm like, if it wasn't for those friends, man.
We're created to be in relationship. God created us to be relational beings. I mean, it's the very beginning of the gospel. Yeah. He wired us that way.
Yeah.
And yet we're sometimes so focused on doing the work of the ministry that we forget about having other people to be friends along the way. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Momentum Ministry Partners podcast. My name's Eric and I'm the host. So we have with us today, Tony Livigni.
Yeah, hey.
Tony, thank you for joining me.
Yeah, man.
You literally just walked off stage at Momentum Youth Conference.
Yeah.
We're at Marion, Indiana, in a beautiful college campus, Indiana Wesleyan University, where Momentum Youth Conference is being held. Yeah. And you did a phenomenal job of helping make Jesus make sense to these students.
Yeah, thanks, brother. Appreciate that, man.
Good job.
Yeah, thanks.
You are our Thursday morning session speaker.
Yeah.
So we're going to link to that in the description so that if anybody really wants to kind of harken back and hear that, Tony, you were a senior pastor. Let me give you the introduction.
Yeah.
You're a senior pastor at Grace Church, Medina East Campus. Yeah. How long have you been there, and how did God even just kind of lead you to that real quick?
Yeah. So I have been at the Medina East Campus at Grace Church since 2012 is kind of when we started there. So it's been, we're in our 13th year now that I've been there. And so I can honestly say it's not something that I didn't think was, I was going to be going there. Like, God oftentimes does, he kind of surprises you. But I was, before that, I was at the Bath campus, one of our other campuses at Grace. I was serving as a young adult pastor there. And then the best way I can describe it is the Holy Spirit opened a door for there to be potential kind of there was a church that was part of our fellowship that was in Medina already. And that church was kind of a position where they were looking to reimagine something different for their future. So that started a conversation with our elders and our leadership team. And long story short, the elders of our church asked me if I would be willing to take the lead on leading the Medina East Campus. Wasn't something that was on my radar, wasn't something that I was necessarily anticipating would happen, but man, we prayed about it. We felt like God was doing something and said yes to that in faith and stepped out, and some folks from the campus I was part of came along with me, and we established the campus there. So it was kind of the people that were part of that church that was pre-existing, and then some of the folks from the church I had come from merged together and started the Medina campus. So
I love it.
Yeah.
Now, for some senior pastors who might be listening, you're using language like campus.
Yes.
Explain that.
Yeah. So I think for most senior pastors, when we think of campusing can mean a lot of different things.
Yes.
Probably the best way to describe what we do is probably more like congregational multiplication. And so it's not, what we do is, in effect, is we share the same mission, vision, and values. That's kind of the core of what we share. And then there's some logistical things that we share, like we share HR but outside of that, the campuses run independent of themselves. So the preaching is live. The series are, they are basically contextualized to whatever the church is going through in that moment. Highly relational. So our campuses are connected by relationship more than we are by organizational structures.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if that model would work for everybody, but it works for us. There's a lot of longevity on our team. Mm-hmm. So a lot of our campus pastors, I worked with Pastor Jeff, who's our senior pastor of everything. I've worked with him it's been 20 years now that I've been with Jeff. So we have a lot of relational collateral. We have a lot that we've done together. And then the other campus pastors is kind of the same way. And so, it's a little bit of a different model. So when you say, like, even when you were saying like you're a senior pastor, I'm like, well, technically I'm a campus pastor, but I know that language means different things to different people. So, So we're a little bit more decentralized, I guess you could say. We're centralized around mission, vision, and values, but then organizational components are localized. I guess that's a better way to describe it.
I love it because it's kind of a hybrid model. You have like, some context, you think campus and you have a live band, and maybe a campus pastor means there's a host there,
right?
And then you're live streaming from the main campus, right?
Yes.
Or from there's one communicator and multiple locations, and you're watching a video, right? If you're at a campus, and that's not this at all, and yet you're also not fully like church planting and launching out on your own. You have a help system, that relational environment. You have other people who are coming around you. There's resources that are being shared. I think it's actually a really beautiful model. And I would probably agree. I think it really works in Northeast Ohio, where you guys are located, and just being able to see what God's using each of those campuses to do, because every community is so very different.
That's right.
It's so very different.
That's right. Yeah, I love it too. I think it's I think there's so much value in both ways. That there's like, I've kind of come to a place where I'm like, look, there's a lot of different ways to do this, and I do feel like what we've experienced at Akron is probably what a lot of churches have experienced. Is we just said, we have these timeless truths of God that we're all trying to figure out. What does it look like to live those timeless truths in timely ways in this time and space? And for us in Northeast Ohio, we said we feel like this is what God is doing, and this is the best way to move forward. So it's been awesome. Yeah,
that's
been
really
great.
Cool.
Yeah.
Now, so again, let's give our listeners, maybe that don't understand context. How many campuses are there, and are there plans to kind of like establish others? Like, would your campus then launch and plant another one? Or
So we currently have 7 campuses, and we're about to start an 8th campus. That's part of the Grace Church ecosystem. And the vision that we share together, the common vision, is that we are asking God, we're pleading with God that we would see 30 campuses planted over the course of 30 years, something we call 30 and 30. And really, that comes out of a couple places. One is it comes from the heart of our senior pastor, Jeff. But more than that, it comes from the book of Acts. Look at the book of Acts. We'd say, the book of Acts took place over the span of about a 30-year period of time. And if you do the math on how many different congregations were birthed in that period of time, it's about 30 or so. And so we just said, hey, what if God did something like that again? Wouldn't that be cool to be part of something like that? And so that's kind of it. But it is we call it it's a multiplication model where it's multiplication on every level. So we want to be a church that's committed to seeing disciples of Jesus make disciples of Jesus, that make groups of disciples of Jesus, that make groups of disciples of Jesus, that make campuses that make campuses. So each campus is really charged with the task to be a self-multiplying campus. And so when we multiply a campus, it's not like Grace Central is multiplying campuses. It's like each campus is like a child that grows, and then eventually, hopefully, is able to have their own children. And so it's kind of more of like a mother-daughter model, where you have each campus that grows and matures and sends out kids. So the Medina campus, our campus, is a good example of that. We are a child campus of one of our other campuses, the Bath campus. But our desire is that we would plant a campus, and then the Bath campus would be a grandparent campus to that. But yeah, so that also means that a lot of the support structure for a new campus comes from the sending campus. So it really is that multiplication on every level, that kind of thing.
So even those families that came with you, could be multiplied and passed down. And I love that because it's the picture of like healthy things grow.
Yes.
And there's a maturity. And as your church and your congregation, as the campus, as the families who are there, as they mature in their own faith, there's a path for them to continue on and multiply. And I think that's biblical. Make disciples who make disciples or something.
I think Jesus said something. Yeah, we like to say a phrase we heard a long time ago, I think is great, is everything healthy grows, everything healthy multiplies. And if you think about it, that is true in everything in the organic world. If it's healthy, it's going to grow and it's going to multiply. And we said that's true of every Christian. That's true of every small group. That's true of every church. So if you're healthy, you're going to grow and you're going to multiply. Now, there's unhealthy things that grow and multiply. Cancer grows and multiplies. But the truth is that if you are healthy and you're doing it in a healthy way, that growth and multiplication are a piece of that. So that's part of what we're shooting for.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. So, Tony, how long have you even just personally, as a pastor, been involved in partnership with Momentum Ministry Partners? It's kind of one of the things that I think is unique about your story that I'd love to kind of pull some of that out. Because for you as a healthy church that's seen God do amazing things in Medina and the Akron area, like there's so many cool things that you can kind of share. Like, I think there's a stereotype maybe sometimes that, like, if your church is thriving and you're healthy, that you don't always need other partnerships, or you don't always need to go send your students to a youth conference, or there might kind of creep in, like, let's do our own thing.
Yeah.
And you guys have been a trusted partner for a long time. So kind of share that story with our listeners.
Yeah, man. Well, I mean, part of the partnership comes with the value of Momentum, but part of it comes with just that, like you said, it's part of my story, So I even shared in the session today, and I share every time I'm here. I feel like I am indebted to Momentum because it's where my walk with Jesus began. So I was a student who was invited to come to Momentum, didn't have a relationship with God, didn't follow Jesus, and the gospel got a hold of me at Momentum. God used it powerfully. And that's where my walk with Jesus began. And then it's interesting because it's almost like every year at Momentum as a student became a mile marker. So the next year I decided to go on Momentum travel teams, which back then was called something different, but I went on a travel team. And that was another life-changing moment for me. And so I feel like I'm the beneficiary of what has been entrusted to me through Momentum. I've seen it personally firsthand, and obviously in the lives of so many people that I know that are in ministry today, yourself included. You know what I mean?
For sure.
So you and I,
literally, your story is my story.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. And we are two of hundreds.
Yes.
Who would say, man, God gripped my life and he used Momentum to do it, Yep. And so I just believe in it strongly. So as a campus pastor who's leading a congregation, I'm like, what God is doing through Momentum is something that I don't think can necessarily, I don't want to try to duplicate it.
Right.
Honestly, I just want to join the Spirit in what he's doing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it would be foolish for us to choose to try to do something that was, to try to reproduce something that the Spirit is uniquely doing and has proven to been doing over the past several years. So we continue to see it work in the lives of our students. And every year we send this year we have almost, I think, 85, some students from Medina that are here, which is insane. And here's the crazy thing, Eric, this blows me away. So this year, I was telling this to our youth pastor's name is DJ. So this year, I'm getting ready to speak for Momentum, and I'm backstage, and my oldest son is on stage praying for me before I come out. Like, this is the place I came to know Jesus. My oldest son's praying for me. The first person that I know came to know Jesus at the Medina East campus is my youth pastor.
No way.
And I'm just sitting back there and I'm like, God.
Oh,
like,
wow.
Like, this is a surreal moment. Like, I'm like, God saved me here. You know what I mean? God called, I felt the leading into ministry while I was here. And I'm like, and I had no idea at that point that I was going to have a family of my own, that my son would be here being impacted by this, and that this guy who was the first person who gave his life to Christ at the Medina campus is my youth pastor. I was just like, God, you're so faithful. You're so gracious. So it's been awesome. So that's a surreal moment. I was like, I almost can't come out now. Like, I'm tearing. I'm like, dude, I'm like choking back tears. I can't go out now. And luckily I was able to put together. So.
It was so fun because I actually got to hold the mic while your son prayed.
Yeah.
And I was teasing him beforehand that I was like, it's almost like we planned this, that like we would have students from Medina East read scripture and pray before Pastor Tony comes out. Yeah. And they were laughing. But I think it's unbelievable that you're sharing that, because literally last night, DJ, your youth pastor, is texting me and just saying, praise God that he's like, almost half of our group went forward. Yeah. Clayton King shared last night.
It's amazing.
And gave a incredibly clear gospel presentation. One of the clearest
presentations I've ever heard.
And friends who are listening to this, go find it on our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
But
awesome.
There was not a scheme. There was not a hook. There was no like
just gospel
deceptiveness.
Straight
he just
down the
walked
middle.
It through and asked the question, how do you know if you're a Christian? How do you know?
Yeah.
And explained, walked him through I mean, just And so for your youth pastor to be texting me, he sent me a picture from the balcony of all the students and just said, you got to see this perspective. And I sent him a picture back from my seat on the side of the stage. And I'm like, Jeff and I are down here bawling.
Man,
just because it's the hard work of why we put on this week.
That's it.
It's why we want to partner with local churches.
Yeah.
We want to see, and we don't even want to mess with anything really at the conference, or because we're like, we've just seen God use this week for decades in so many people's lives. Yeah. And so our stories are similar.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you hit the nail on the head. There's so many others who have that same experience.
Yes. 100%, man.
So I love that.
Me too. That's awesome.
When you think back through those years of being in high school and the mile markers, that's just such good language. Mm-hmm. What was it, or at what point maybe, that you felt like God was calling you to go into full-time vocational ministry?
Yeah. Yeah. So for me, I would say my first year at Momentum was just, I mean, it was kind of like last night, you know, like you talked about Clayton. Gospel presentation was, I loved it. It wasn't gimmicky, it wasn't showy. It was straight down the middle. It was the gospel. And so somebody, and when I was in Momentum the first year, I just remember my thought was, they explained the gospel, and my thought was, how come no one has ever told me that before? Like, it was clear. So that first year for me was about giving my life to Jesus. The next year I came back was when I got connected to Momentum travel teams. When I got connected to Momentum travel teams, that was the first time that Jesus is teaching, where he said, if anyone loses their life for my sake, they find it. That's when I learned what that meant.
Wow.
And so because at that point I thought, like, the spiritual high, like the highest peak of the pinnacle of spirituality is like being at a conference like Momentum, where it's like, man, you get immersed in God's word and you get this incredible experience. So I feel like I was chasing that. And then Momentum travel teams taught me that, actually, when you give your life away for the sake of the gospel, you find it. And I thought, wow, this is powerful. And I just remember thinking to myself, this is a crazy, I don't know how much time we have for this, but I had this kind of a crazy story to tell.
Yeah.
So
please.
I went on this Momentum travel team, and we spent the summer going around, and you know this stuff. We were serving,
learning how to do ministry,
and so much of it was serving. Yeah. It was like, go paint a church. Yeah. It was like, go do a kids program. First time I ever preached a sermon was that summer. Yeah. And
same.
And so I was perpetually uncomfortable, many times out of my comfort zone, scared. And I remember this one night. So, to go on this Momentum travel team, I didn't know anybody, and all my friends at home were staying home. It was, a lot of them were, for me, it was after my senior year. So a lot of them were like, we're going to work over the summer, we're going to save up money, and we're just going to have fun before we go to college. Yeah. And so I remember being like, well, I'm going to go do kids programs and paint churches. And I'm like, what am I doing? So midsummer, we're at this church somewhere in Indiana. I don't even know where. And the church was kind of run down. And that night, for some reason, the guys on this trip all stayed in the same room, and the girls all stayed. So the girls were going to sleep in the auditorium of the church because it was the nicer part, and the guys were going to sleep in the basement. Yeah. All right. So the story's going somewhere.
Literally on floors.
Yeah. So that night, the guys are getting ready to sleep in the basement, and the basement is kind of dungeon-esque. You know what I mean? We had spent the whole day doing service projects, working kids ministries, doing this kind of thing. We're tired. We go down in the basement. The pastor comes down. And he goes, hey guys, I wish we could put you somewhere better. This is the nicest we got to accommodate you. And we're like, that's fine. And he's like, I feel like I need to warn you. He's like, there are cockroaches in the basement. He's like, so you might want to sleep on top of these folding tables and in my mind, I thought I had heard that cockroaches can get in your ears. And I don't know if that's true or not. Like, I'm not sure. You can fact check it. But I was so nervous that I put, toilet paper in my ears.
No way.
So get this picture in your mind. I'm laying on a folding table in the basement of this church in my sleeping bag with toilet paper in my ears. I'm afraid the cockroaches are going to be there in this dungeness basement. Yeah. And I remember thinking to myself that night, this is so vivid. I remember thinking to myself, this is what Jesus meant. I have never been more fulfilled in my life as I am right now.
Wow.
I'm like, I don't know why it is, but I'm like right now, I think I've discovered what Jesus meant, that when you lose your life, you find. I'm like, whatever this is, I just want to do this for the rest of my life.
Wow.
So I don't even know if for me, I was like, at that point, I was like, I want to be a pastor one day.
Right.
I was just like,
Right.
I want to go all in for Jesus.
Oh, wow.
I just want to spend my life serving him. And that was probably the defining moment that made me say, I'm going to pursue the path of ministry.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So I don't know if there was a clear, moment that I felt called to ministry.
Yeah.
I do remember feeling very specifically in that moment, like whatever this is, I'm doing this for the rest of my life. This is it. I found where life is found.
Yeah.
And it's in a basement in Indiana with cockroaches.
That's
like, this is it, man.
crazy.
So it was
All right.
cool. Yeah.
Very a tough question here.
Okay, let's
Do you
go.
still sleep on folding tables?
I do not.
Okay,
No,
you're sleeping about
thank,
it.
thank the Lord.
Somebody
That's-
was gonna not sleep tonight if we didn't.
Yeah, I know. No more folding tables. That's in my past.
That is hilarious.
Yeah.
Dude,
Yeah,
wow.
crazy. That's wild.
Oh, all right, Tony. So let's do this. Okay. You're in this role where you're the campus pastor, right?
Yeah.
In leadership, when you're at the top, when you have people that are looking to you, it's tough.
Yeah.
Ministry is hard. It can be lonely. It can be challenging. So there's this new thing called the internet, right?
Yes.
Super
I've
fun.
heard of this. Yeah.
Chat GPT,
Right,
yes.
yes.
AI that's a thing.
It is.
So I got curious, and Momentum, we partner with so many churches,
Yeah.
and we're constantly being asked questions. But I thought, I'm curious if I put into Chat GPT,
Yeah.
what are the most commonly asked questions that senior pastors or campus pastor, the lead pastor, asks of each other when they get in a room?
Oh,
Now, I've been
fun.
in some of these rooms,
Yeah,
and I've
this
heard
will
the
be fun.
questions, but I'm like, what does the internet say?
Yeah, I'm curious now.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I asked, and I got a whole list of things.
Okay.
And then I asked, because AI is just so fun to play with.
It's crazy.
I said, can you categorize these? Can you
course
kind
it
of
can.
put them into categories for
Of
me?
course it can.
And so there's 5 categories that I have. What I would love nothing more to do is just ask you,
Okay.
pick a category,
Oh, man.
and let's
Okay.
ask you some questions.
All right.
Now,
I'll
the
do my
fun thing
best.
for our listeners, I want to just kind of put a teaser out there. We're not only going to talk with you,
Yeah.
we're going to do a podcast later this week with Corbin Hogue,
Okay, yeah,
who's
yeah.
a church planner in,
Yeah.
you're kind of
Nickeltown,
in, Northeast Ohio. Medina's a nice area.
Yeah,
like
nicer area.
Corbin is in
Nickeltown. Yeah.
Nickeltown, South Carolina. He's in the ghetto. He's planting a church. Very different kind of. So I'm going to ask Corbin the same questions.
Okay, wow.
And then we're going to have Dane Caraway, who's planting a church.
Right.
In a very nice
Maryland,
area of Towson, Maryland.
Yeah.
But is reaching the community there.
Yeah. Very different area, Maryland.
Very
is.
different
Yeah.
areas. 3 wildly different areas.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious. Like, let's play this little game and
Yeah,
see
this
where
is
it
fun.
goes.
This is fun.
All
I
right.
can't wait to hear what those guys say. That'll be fun.
I know.
Gosh, man, that's great.
I want to put them all together, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the categories.
Okay.
The first one is personal and spiritual leadership.
Okay.
Second one, church vision, growth, and health.
Mm-hmm.
So like church health. Third one is leadership development and team culture.
Mm-hmm.
The next one is accountability and peer support.
Mm-hmm.
And then the fifth one is pastoral credibility and community perception.
Okay.
All right, which one are you picking?
So I get to pick anyone.
You get to pick anyone, and I'm going to just ask you 2 or 3 questions.
Top of the list. Let's just go number 1.
All right.
I'm going to ask you to repeat it.
Personal and spiritual leadership. Okay. So good. So good. We probably need to find like 2 more senior pastors, and maybe we'll get all 5 of these.
Yeah, maybe.
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
All right. So here's what, according to ChatGPT,
Yeah. Okay.
and I'm going to be honest with our audience. I edited some of these because having been in some of these rooms and heard these conversations, but this is fascinating, Tony. Okay, so the first question is, how do you maintain your own spiritual disciplines? Bible reading, prayer, Sabbath. I think that's a big, I added Sabbath.
Yeah.
Like, what does that look like for you personally? Just being able to stay grounded.
Yeah.
Different from sermon prep, different from speaking at Momentum Youth Conference, personally.
Yeah, that's a great question, man. I think, gosh, I don't know if I have anything that's revolutionary to say, except just to say that for me, I found that like most things in my life, I'm like, it has to be structured. It's got to be in my calendar. And I know that sounds, sometimes that can sound like a little bit less organic. It can sound a little less how relationships tend to operate. But actually, I'll be honest, that's even how my relationship with my wife operates right now, is if we have priorities, if there's things that are important, we have to structure them. So for me, it includes waking up at a certain time in the morning. It means dialing a certain routine. So I always say I want my first cup of coffee to be with Jesus in the morning. So I'll wake up, grab coffee, go through a reading plan of the Bible. For me, that stuff just helps me stay kind of anchored. This is maybe more because I know that there's different pastors watching this too. This has been helpful for me is because I do spend a good amount of time studying and teaching God's word. I'm in his word a lot. And so there's times that I'll try to lean more towards the sometimes like I'm trying to think of a good word to put it, but more of the less academic. So I will actually spend time just like listening to worship music sometimes and just being like, I want to be present with God in this moment and doing those kind of things. So that kind of like systematizing those habits are an important part of staying connected to Jesus. The other thing is too, man, I feel like just Christian friendships are so essential. Having friends, having good spiritual friendships that I can lean into, can call on, like that stuff is just refreshing, and it can get lonely, being in leadership, but having a few brothers that I know that I am close to, I can talk to, that has brought sanity into my life in times where things get insane and things like that. And then honestly, like I feel like even doing stuff like this, like being able to participate in what God is doing in different areas that are outside of my local church.
That's so
that
good.
we can partner with different things, but I'm like, man, it just gives me a vision that God is doing something bigger than, because it's easy just to get narrowed in on the day in, day out of what I'm doing. So when I can zoom out and be like, no, the kingdom of God is much bigger than this one thing that I'm called to a spot and I'm thankful to be there. But I'm like, but sometimes I can zoom back and be like, oh my gosh, look what God is up to. And that for me puts so much wind in my sails, because I'm like, the Great Commission is greater than this part of the world and this thing that I'm doing. So those are a few just quick things that I don't know, nothing like revolutionary.
That's so good. I love what you said, even about like my first cup of coffee of the day is with the Lord. For me personally, I've learned, I don't remember, somebody taught me this along the way. I need a reminder, a routine, and a reward.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so when I have my reminder, and then it's okay, my alarm is set for this time. I have a devotional alarm, right? And it's so get up, and my routine then is I make coffee. And I make good coffee. And then I spend time with the Lord. And then the reward is I start my day with a really good cup of coffee and time with the Lord.
And the Lord. He's our reward. It's great.
But it's funny because it was almost like you were looking at my screen here and you saw the next question.
I did not, huh?
Literally, it's like the next one is like, if you're lonely and burn out, how do you get out of that? How do you like get out of the tailspin of like loneliness or burnout if you're feeling you're going in the wrong direction there?
That's such a good question, man. I think that because I've obviously been in ministry for a while. I've had a lot of friends that are pastors who have experienced burnout, have been there. And burnout is one of those things, I'm sure you guys talk about it a lot on your podcast. I've heard guys like Carey Nieuwhof talk about burnout. I've always wondered, I've been trying to figure out for a long time what it exactly means to be burnout. Because I'm like, I don't know if sometimes I'm like, I think I've been burnout. I don't really know. I'm like, I didn't get to a place where I had to tap out, but I definitely was in a place where I'm like, I don't know if I can function, or I don't know if I'm seeing clearly. And some of the things that have been really helpful for me, and this is maybe things that you've probably heard before, but I had a friend of mine one time tell me, when it comes to things like depression or anxiety or fatigue, that it's important to, like a good metaphor is that those things are like clouds. They're like clouds in that it's like, if I go outside and it's a stormy day, it'd be foolish for me to pretend like it's not stormy. Right. I'm like, no, it's storming, the cloud. But I also recognize that that's not going to be like that forever. You know what I mean? So I'm like, these are clouds. I can acknowledge it. I can admit it. But I also am not. So if I feel burnout, or if I feel anxious, or I feel lonely, sometimes it's helpful for me to remember that doesn't mean that I am those things. It means that I'm experiencing those things. And that those things might pass away too. But I do think for those reasons, like I said, friendships are essential. Honestly, Momentum's helpful. Not just the youth conference, Momentum Pro, being connected to other pastors who are within the network of Momentum. It's that whole thing when you when you're able to articulate to someone what you're feeling, and someone can say, yeah, me too.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm just not crazy. That's good for me to know. I'm not crazy, and
They're
I'm not
outside
alone.
your context too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and I would say too, our ecosystem is really helpful, that we have a pretty high relationship between the campus pastors, so we can kind of lean in on each other as well. I have probably probably the opposite problem. I know you are a raging extrovert, and I am I am as far the other side introverted. So I actually have to force myself sometimes to talk to actually say things out loud. And another really helpful thing, I'm not sure how deep you want to go with this, but I not too long ago, I actually was talking with a counselor friend of mine, and we were able to talk through something that was really, really helpful. And he helped me identify, he said, I want you to try to identify the lies that you believe and where they come from. All right. Now, I don't know if you've ever done anything like this before, but I'm like, first off, I don't like doing that kind of stuff. I'm just like, what's the point? Like, let's just keep going. That's kind of the way I'm wired.
Right.
But he was like, no, I want you to actually go back, and I want you to try to find the places in your life where certain lies were solidified in your heart. And I want you to do the work of trying to articulate in the best possible language with clarity what those lies are. And it was some hard work, but I will say that I emerged with two. There was two lies that I find that I bump, and I still to this day, I find that I bump my head against them multiple times a day. Yep. And the two lies for me, one was you're alone. I'm like, I'm alone. And the other one is that you're stupid. So it's you're stupid and you're alone. And it took me a long time to refine those, and everyone's got their own.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
100%.
But I could trace those back to moments in my life.
Yep.
Where I'm like, I'm stupid, I'm alone. I'm stupid, I'm alone. I'm stupid, I'm alone. So part of what's helped me now is that now that I've been able to put language to that, I'm able to identify more frequently when I'm bumping my head on that lie. So I'll be sitting in a meeting and I'm like, what's going on right now? I'm like, I know what's going on. I feel stupid. Or I'll be like, I know what's going on right now. I feel alone. Now, sometimes those lies, they still have power,
Sure.
But what's helpful is I know how to combat them. So like if I feel alone, I'm like, no, I can remind myself, no, I'm not. So right now I'm going to combat that lie by calling my friend.
Yeah.
Because I'm not alone. Yeah. And sometimes that's just that's been very helpful for me in those seasons where I feel like it's being able to, because we all have this stuff. There's lies I don't even know that but to be able to identify and to articulate, no, these are two that I know I'm a sucker for. They're going to get me. If I can just acknowledge, okay, yeah, that's a lie, and it's at work right now. But at least I know it's there, and then to combat it with something that's true. So
Tony, thank you for sharing that. I think you hit the nail on the head. Every single one of us, if we're honest with ourselves, we have those. We may not recognize them, we may not see them, which probably means that we're not wanting to do the hard work. Yeah. And I know so many pastors, usually the men, who are really, we get so stuck in like, I'm gonna like fix this, or I'm gonna be we're gonna have grit, and we're gonna push through, and we're gonna and in our culture some of that is rewarded,
celebrated,
and it's and so when you stop and like realize like, no, I need to do the hard work, not just for me, but for my family, for the Lord, it's honoring to him because he's wanting to heal those places, and the reality is, because I've been in a similar journey of doing some of the hard work from even trauma that I had as a child that I didn't even realize was there. And when you start doing that, I think, and you've seen this, nothing is wasted in God's kingdom.
That's right.
And so then it's almost as if he's like unlocking new levels of ministry that you get to connect with other people in a way that maybe you haven't before. Yeah. And so there is something in that personal spiritual growth. Yeah. It does not matter what level or position or title you have, but when you dig in and you do those things, God gives you a new vision, perspective, ministry, opportunities, all of it. Yeah. So I'm so glad you shared that.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I think you're dead on too. I think that there's nothing more dangerous than a lie, the lie that's operative in my life that I'm not aware of. And I'm sure that there's those that are there, but doing the work of, and this is where I've really learned too, that it's like, this is where having other spiritually gifted people that can help you figure those things out. Is
Yep.
because I'm like, if I just trust myself to if I trust myself to try to see blind spots, I'm like, they're blind spots for a reason.
Yeah.
Like I need the help of other people
Yes.
to help me identify them and to help me sort them out so I can understand it better. But that's yeah. So I think it goes back to those things of a big thing is Christian community, and the God has given us a diversity within the body of Christ to help us, and so yeah.
All right. So as being a pastor, then, when you're feeling the loneliness, when you're feeling the isolation, I know there's a lot of talk in pastor circles, especially for senior pastors, lead pastors. What do you do with friends? Do you find friendship with people that are inside of the congregation? Do you find friendships in people that are outside? What would you recommend to our listeners kind of in that, if somebody else is feeling that isolation, that loneliness, and they're like, I could sure use a friend.
Yeah.
How do they go about doing that?
Yeah.
What does that look like? I know there's pitfalls on both and arguments on both sides.
Sure.
But
Yeah. I mean, I can only speak from my experience, so I'm not sure I would advocate. I haven't thought it through well enough to know, but I would say that, like, I've heard people talk about, like, if you're going to have a close friend, like, it should be someone who's outside of your congregation and some of those I could see some of the wisdom in that, but part of me is like, I think that sometimes the friendships that God gives us, it's like, they're like divine appointments from God's Spirit that He provides. So some of my closest friends, one of my closest confidants does not go to my church. He's a pastor at a different location.
Yeah.
And someone that I've known back from high school. And so he and I have had a very similar journey. And I'm like, it genuinely is. I'm like, this is just a supernatural friendship that God has given us. One of my other closest friends is a guy who's just part of our congregation, and God has just, like, He has just knit our hearts together. And I'm like, this is just a brother. We've done ministry together in that we've led small groups together. We've done stuff like that. We've grown over time.
Yeah.
There's a few guys like that are part of my church. I have been learning recently, I think one of the things God's been showing me is that I think we minimize the value of friendship a lot. And we forget that Jesus died to make us His friends. Friendship is so valuable to God that He died that we'd have it with Him, So I think that there's obviously C.S. Lewis has written a lot about friendship. There's some other authors who have recently written about friendship. It's kind of reawakened in my mind, because I think in ministry, sometimes it's like, we're reading all these books about leadership development, reading all these books about structures and theology and like, these are all good things, but man, I'm like, but the value of joyful friendships, I'm like, that's going to give you longevity in ministry. When I can look back at because I've been in ministry for 20 years at Grace Church in different capacities, if I could point back and say, what are the most stabilizing things that have allowed me to have any longevity by God's grace? And I'm like, one of them is I had really deep friendships with people who I was able to, that I'm like, there's times I want to tap out.
Yep.
And sure, there's times that I thought, like, I don't know if I can keep going, but I had somebody that I could talk to about those things and share that with me. And I'm like, if it wasn't for those friends, man. So I'm just like, that is a gift that Jesus died to purchase for us. Is that He said, I no longer call you servants, I call you friends. And I'm like, the fact that the God of the universe died so that I could be His friend. I'm like, that says something about friendship. You know what I mean? And so so I think that's critical to longevity.
I love what you're saying there, even about like how as leaders, we get so focused on all these different like books and things that we read and podcasts we listen to, and yet we forget we're created to be in relationship. God created us to be relational beings. I mean, it's the very beginning of the gospel.
So that's it.
To understand that, He wired us that way. And yet we're sometimes so focused on doing the work of the ministry that we forget about having other people to be friends along the way. And that we need that too.
That's it, man.
And just to harken back, you talked about what Grace Church and the campuses there are doing is the picture of the early church in Acts. Which is exactly this. It's them like devoting themselves to the word, to the spiritual disciplines. So for us as pastors and leaders, do the spiritual disciplines, dive deep into those things, rest, learn what that stuff looks like. Sometimes it's before you tap out, it's speaking up. And it's saying, I need help, I need a friend, I need whatever, and finding that. And so to that end, momentum, Ministry Partners wants to be here for that.
Yeah.
And so there's pathways, there's opportunities for that to happen. And I love, Tony, that you're a part of that. Yeah. And it's just been an honor and privilege. So thanks, man, for sharing your heart.
We appreciate you guys. Appreciate everything Momentum does. And just so grateful for our partnership and our friendship, man. It's really cool we get to do this
for
together.
sure.
Blast, man.
For sure.
Cool.
Well, it's fun even just walking around at Momentum Youth Conference and literally getting to see dozens, if not hundreds of people that are doing that. They're literally building relationships that are going to last a lifetime. Yeah. And that stuff happens here. And I've seen it for almost 30 years now. This is my 29th year of coming to this.
Holy cow, man.
Wow. I'm 43.
Yeah. That's impressive. Yeah.
It's that kind of stuff. Like some of my closest, dearest friends I met here as a student, and we're now all in ministry. Yeah. And it's just, it's unbelievable.
It's a joy, man.
It's something the Lord's doing.
Walking around here, to me, I always tell my wife, it feels like a family reunion to me. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm like, this is just cool. It's just fun to see people. And sometimes you don't talk from one momentum to the next, but you just pick it right back up again.
For sure.
And the encouragement that comes from that.
For sure.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for being a part of this, Tony.
Appreciate you.
God's using you. And to our listeners, I hope that this has been of benefit to you. Yeah. One other thing that I would just, again, I want to reiterate, go listen to Clayton's message from
last night,
Wednesday night. Yeah. Got to think what day it is.
Yeah, Thursday.
And Tony's message Thursday morning, Momentum Youth Conference 2025. Tony, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Eric, man. Love you.
Thanks for listening to the Momentum Ministry Partners Podcast. If you found this episode helpful, would you subscribe, rate, and leave us a review? That helps more people discover this podcast. We'd also love for you to share this episode with someone in your network who could benefit from the conversation. Because we want to be your go-to and most trusted resource, we'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a topic you'd like us to cover in a future episode, send us an email to info@buildmomentum.org. Or you can send us a DM on any of our social media platforms. And if you want to learn more about Momentum Youth Conference, Urban Centers, Greece College Akron, Momentum Marketplace, or Momentum Pro, head over to buildmomentum.org. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you next time.